Woman at the Well, authored by Stephanie M. Seaton, is a story of grace and redemption. The woman at the well mattered. Is always near. Jesus' blood paid our ransom while we were yet sinners. The book can be found on Amazon.com. Hearts Restored, Finding True Fulfillment in Christ, by Stephanie M. Seaton. Heart Restored, Finding True Fulfillment in Christ. In this book, we embark on a journey that explores the depths of human longing and the pursuit of true fulfillment.
Hello, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. I am so glad that you guys have tuned in yet again tonight on this wonderful Tuesday night. Tonight, I have an amazing young lady with me. We are going to have a conversation about a much needed resource here in the great city of Tyler, Texas. I have Miss Sammantha with me tonight. She is the executive director of social works. And she is here to give us some personal inspiration as well as let us know what different resources are available here in the city of Tyler, Texas. Welcome, Samantha. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. I am very happy that we were able to link up and get the opportunity for you to talk about your organization. We met here a few months ago at the Juneteenth celebration here in Tyler at the African American Museum. And I remember walking by your table and I kind of looked. And then I came back and I was like, and I kind of looked at one of your flyers and I was like, oh, this is so necessary. So I came back and we had a conversation. So very happy to have you here. One of the very first questions as an icebreaker, Miss Samantha, that I ask all of the guests are to please tell us, who are you? Who is Samantha?
Oh, that's like an interview question. You know, when you go for an interview and that's the main question they ask. I've been working on my little sentence of who I am. I've been trying to sum it up because there's so many aspects to us as individuals. But I like to say that I am someone who's gone from a mental health patient to a mental health professional within 5 years. And I like to just kind of sum it up that way.
Wow.
Showing that I have the personal experience, but also the education to really help people.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
It's
that
a good
that
catchy
in
one, so
itself.
I might keep it.
Yeah. You were ready. You were ready. That is amazing. So let me repeat that. Going from a mental health patient to a mental health resource. And I know you said it differently, but that is just so amazing. Wow. That very moving because a lot of times there's so many people that need mental health avenues and they won't get the help.
Yeah.
Then those that do get the resources, we hardly ever hear about the turnaround. We hardly ever hear about the turnaround, and we definitely don't really hear about them going back to get someone else.
Yeah.
So I salute you, Miss Samantha. I think you're doing some amazing things. So kind of tell me a little bit of background let's start with behind the name. Where did you get the name for the group?
Oh, social work advocate. Well, when I first was thinking of the organization and what I really wanted to do, I called it social work because it was social services that worked. And the reason it's social services. Okay. Oh, see, I'm good with these phrases.
I am a catchphrase woman. When you say something, I'm going to be like, oh, I love catchphrases. Yes.
But the reason I say that, though, I say we provide social services that actually work is because we're different from what everyone else with us doing our cultural assessment. So we actually provide an assessment on your cultural needs and then link you to a provider that respects your background. And that's when you'll see the continuation of care where people actually keep going because they're starting to actually build trust. So social services, that works, social works.
I love that. And you know what? When you feel like someone cares, like they understand, you are right. You buy into being able to receive the care or being able to receive the help. That is really good. That you set that up in that way. I don't think I've ever heard an organization that I have kind of interviewed or even been to actually take the cultural part into consideration, but it matters. It really does matter. I think sometimes we when I say we, I mean just the world, just in general. We are so busy trying to do the service that we miss the service. If you know what I mean. But taking it to that next level to customize the care, that right there, that's a plus right there. So let's kind of dig in a little bit, Samantha. I don't want to go too deep, but I do, as much as you're able to tell us, I do want to kind of dig in a little bit about your personal journey. I know
Yeah.
you did share that you've had some struggles with mental health, which a
Mhm.
lot of us have,
Mhm.
including myself in my younger age. And even now in my adulthood, every once in a while I have to check myself and I have to
Yeah.
really think about some stuff, if we're honest about it. Um, but kind of give us a little bit of your personal journey, and then just kind of take us through it.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I actually love talking about it. And the
Okay.
reason I like talking about it is because I feel like it helps break down the stigma a little bit to know someone who has that personal experience.
Right. Right.
And so my whole beginning of mental health started with my mom.
Okay.
So I'm biracial, and I was raised on my mom's side. My mom's Black, and she
Okay.
has 3 kids. And
Okay.
so when I was 14, as the oldest of all the kids, um, she ended up being admitted involuntarily to a hospital and put on a 72-hour psych hold.
Okay.
So I'm leaving school, normal day, whatever. I end up going to the hospital, don't know why. And then the glass doors open up, and there's my mom. I can't go to her, right? There's that separation to where this is inpatient, like you're in here, this is
Yeah.
visitor. So she simply explained to me that she sought therapy for the first time ever in her life.
Hmm.
And as what happens with therapy, they ask a specific question, right? Do you plan on harming yourself or someone else?
Right.
And so my mom was honest that she had planned it previously.
Yeah.
And with that notion, she was put on a hold. And
Gotcha.
so from that moment forward, it was nope, don't ask for help. They'll take you away from your kids. Don't show weakness, right? Like all these things that are kind of embedded in us as we grow
Yeah.
up, especially
Yeah.
having Black mothers. Like,
Yeah.
don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, she was my superwoman.
Yeah.
But the problem is we have superwoman syndrome where we're
Yeah.
superwoman for everyone.
Yeah. And it breaks us down. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was my very first experience with mental health. I mean, I've dealt with physical health in my family all the time, heart attacks, diabetes, high blood
Yeah.
pressure, right?
Right.
We hear that all the time.
Right.
But to actually hear someone acknowledge that something with their mental health is
Hmm.
far in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was my first time really seeing it. And then that moment led to the stigma in my life of like, don't get help, don't, figure it
Mhm.
out, push through, right?
Yeah.
Just push through.
Yeah.
Until I want to say I was 23. So it was 2018, 2019.
Okay.
And I ended up at this time, just some background. I was in school, right? I was getting
Okay.
my degree. I was a mother already, and that within itself requires some mental strength.
Right. Right.
um, and I was also married at the time and a
Okay.
full-time employee. And so during that time, I ended up losing my grandfather
Mm.
to cirrhosis of the liver.
Okay.
Shortly after that, my biological father was imprisoned.
Okay.
And on the way to deal with his court trial, my mom was taking me to the airport and she got a call that my stepdad I've had since I was 6 was in a car accident and had passed away.
Jesus. Mm.
So within that window of my grandfather to my dad to my stepdad, I just lost them in my life. They're just gone within a 2-month period, just gone.
Wow, Samantha. Mm.
Um,
That's a tough one. Yeah. Yeah.
23, first
Yeah.
dealing with grief, all of
Yeah.
them gone at once,
Back to
right?
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still pushing, going to work, still doing school, going to school, still take care of my daughter, who at the
Yeah.
time was 3, So
Because failure is not an option, right?
I'm sorry.
because failure was not an option. You
No.
knew you were taught to be a superwoman. So regardless of how you felt, you probably cried late at night. During the day, you were superwoman and you wore all the hats because that's what we do, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And everyone came before me. For some
Yeah.
reason, we're
Yeah.
taught everyone comes before
Yeah.
you. But yeah, so that was my breaking point, to say the
I get it.
least.
Yeah.
And so I actually admitted myself, which
Okay.
this is the turning point that people don't see coming. I admitted myself to a behavioral health center here
Okay.
in Tyler.
Okay.
And I went to therapy, group therapies, individual therapies,
Right.
formally diagnosed and on medication, still to this day, 5 years later. And I walked out of there, and like for the first time in my life, the world was brighter. The grass
Yeah.
was green, right? Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wasn't taken over with the stresses of life constantly.
Yeah.
I could move a little. I could manage. I could cope. I could keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
And here we are 5 years later. So that was the point in my life when I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I really have to learn how to cope with the difficulties of life and not just push through and bury it and just
Yeah.
push it deep down. Because I feel like
Yeah.
that's what a lot of us do. We're just pushing it down to keep going to the next day and the next day and the next task we have to do.
I'm sitting here, Samantha, and you're saying so many things are so similar to my story. It's so crazy how I have people on the show, and I believe that the Lord is in control of all things. You and I have never had a personal conversation, but you're sitting here telling your story, and I'll tell you off camera how parallel it is. Okay, but I mean it's like this, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Um, I used to go to high school.
Mhm.
And I used to be a normal student during the day. In the middle of the day, I would go to therapy, and then I would
Mhm.
go back to school. I would perform at the football games, and at night I would sleep with my parent.
Yeah.
And it would start over the next day. I would go to school, I would go to therapy, I would go and I had to keep this thing going, and it was just like trying to remember to be this Stephanie here,
Sure.
this Stephanie here,
Mhm.
and then when I'm around my friends, this Stephanie. Do you
Mhm.
you understand what I'm saying, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And trying to keep it all together to play the roles for everybody.
Mhm.
When
Mhm. All those
inside,
hats.
yes, when inside I was just screaming.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
so yeah, we will definitely talk about that. But I think the thing is, what my heart's desire is by having a broadcast like this tonight, Samantha, and just
Mhm.
even having this broadcast period, healing, empowerment, transformation, that we will understand there's nothing bad about going for help. There's nothing bad about asking for help. Sometimes we need help.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need somebody to lift our arms. Just help us lift our
Mhm.
arms.
Mhm.
To just help us to the weight of life can get so heavy, like you said, back to back to back situations. And Lord knows I've had it too. I mean, they might have been different things, but still back to, it's like you can't catch your breath
Mhm.
before
Mhm.
this happened, and then you mentally process, okay, that happened, and you're almost feeling like you're getting there, and then boom, something else. And it can seem so overwhelming. And that's
Mhm.
the part where we need to get to the point that we say, you know what, I need somebody to hold my hand in this moment. I need somebody to hear the thoughts that are going on in my mind. Because, I will say this, when I was going through some stuff, Samantha, I knew my thoughts weren't right. I knew they
Sure.
weren't right,
Mhm.
but I didn't know how to tell them to somebody else
Mhm. Mhm.
because you're
Mhm.
worried about judgments, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I know that I'm not supposed to, when you battle with depression, for example,
Mhm.
I know I'm not supposed to stay in my bed and keep sleeping. Okay.
Yeah.
But sleeping makes me not have to deal with reality.
Yes.
So when someone says, "Well, why are you in the bed? Why are you sleeping so much?" I'm just tired.
Oh, tell me that statement. Tell me that statement has not reigned in the household of women for all these years.
Yes. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's
Because
just
I'm
that
not just
I'm just
tired.
tired. Yeah, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
It's not tired. You've been going from the restroom to the kitchen to your bed for a week, for 2 weeks. You are not still
You got
tired.
enough rest in that bed.
It's
Yeah,
called depression. Let's call it out. Let's call it
absolutely.
out. But listen, I really thank you so much for being so open and transparent.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Your
Mhm.
childhood experiences, and like I said, I can kind of identify to a certain degree. How did that move over? And I'm guessing, I'm just kind of guessing that with watching what happened with your mom.
Mhm.
Well, let me ask you this. After the situation that happened with your mom, when she came home, what did that look like when she came home and
Same.
okay, so did
We
you
went right
ask?
back to just like it
Uh-huh,
was, like it never
okay,
happened.
just like it never happened.
Mhm.
Okay, so we brushed that up under the rug.
Mhm.
And did she ever go for any help again, or was it just that one isolated moment?
I am proud to say, since I've started my journey and I went and I go to therapy constantly, right? Like that's my
Yeah,
go-to
I love
is
yeah, I love
my
therapy too.
problem therapy. But
Yes, yes.
my whole family, between my cousins and my daughter and my grandmother
Hmm.
to my mom, seek out therapy when they need it.
Yeah,
I
I love that.
I'm beyond proud of them for it.
Yeah,
But it takes that one person in the family to say, I did this and it worked out. And
yeah,
that's what it takes. Because we have
yeah.
so many stories,
Hmm.
not even just within our family, within friends, within the community, within our history,
Yeah,
of it not working out, of us having a
yeah,
valid reason to mistrust mental health providers.
yeah. That's true.
So
You
I
hear
I
you
love
hear some
sharing.
horror stories.
Yeah,
You hear
yes,
some horror stories.
you
Yeah.
do.
And that makes you, a little bit leery of trying to get
Mhm,
the help. And I know I have talked to some people that have had to be admitted multiple times into mental
mhm.
health facilities. And I remember before they went the first time, one of their thoughts was they thought if they go, they would be stuck there.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is, they do have you stay there for a certain period of time to do the programs. But see, this is the thing that I think a lot of people have the misconceptions, Samantha. So let's break it down for them.
Yeah.
You're not just stuck there. You're going through classes. They're trying out different medications to help you with your moods and with your behaviors. You're in group setting events where other people have gone through some things and everybody's talking
Yeah.
about the stuff that they're going through so that you can realize you're not alone,
Mhm, mhm.
and as far as the amount of time that you have to study, that depends on if you do the work. Am I right?
That is 100% correct.
Yeah, if you do the work, you might be there 3 to 5 days. It just depends. But
Mhm.
if you need help and you go and you're mad at the world because you're there and you're not really participating, and listen, they're gonna think you are way gone further than you are. And so that's a whole nother. Am I right, Samantha?
Yeah,
Tell
that's a whole nother situation.
a whole nother
I
situation.
mean,
So
yeah, and I do understand the fear because when
yeah.
I went and was citing myself in, they
Hmm.
give you a form and they're like, this form means that you can leave when the doctors say you can leave.
Right.
And so it's really scary.
Yeah.
I mean, especially people that have never been stuck somewhere, it's
Yeah.
really scary to be like, okay, I'll just go here for however long until I figure it out.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
it is intimidating. It's valid to be scared,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you are correct. It depends on you. They have a
Yeah.
schedule every
Yeah.
day. They have a schedule every day. You're going
Yeah.
to a group, or your personal, or you have maybe like journaling or art therapy or music therapy. there you have activities and things that you're doing to see progress.
Right.
The best thing, the number one thing I loved about taking the time to do that
Yeah.
was I took time for myself. That was the
Mm,
first time in years
mm, mm, mm,
I didn't have anyone needing me for something, and I could
mm.
just focus on, and I didn't have a phone, right? You don't have a phone.
Yeah,
You have
they
a phone
take.
you can call from, but your cell's gone.
Yeah,
So you're really sitting there with those thoughts of yours that's been piling up for years.
yeah,
You really have to take the time to address what's going on with you. And that's what I appreciated about it.
yeah,
It gave me that time.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, I have some personal experience with family members that have been multiple times, and the majority of the experiences that they had were good experiences. There were a couple of times where it was not, pleasant
Mhm.
experiences. Especially during COVID.
Oh,
During COVID was very tough when you can't go see your family member. You only can talk to them on the phone.
mhm.
But I thank God we got through it. I
Oh,
give
yeah.
them praise for that. My particular family member has not been to any type of facility like that in almost 2 years. So
That's
I'm,
beautiful.
and yeah, yeah, and I'm so grateful for the Lord, in their life
Mhm.
because they had went probably, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 times, but God, and they finally got the realization that I got to do the work, you know.
Yes. Yep.
So kind of tell me, I really want to know about the different programs and initiatives that y'all have at Social Works. What do you have at the program that, can give people those tools that they need to get to the other side? Tell us, Samantha.
Absolutely. So we try to tackle the problem in a few different ways.
Okay.
So we're not only tackling it patient face fronting by helping people in our local office. So we have a local office here in Tyler where individuals can come in every Wednesday from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay.
And we will do a assessment to assess where they are with their mental health. They typically will need a therapist, but we can help with finding other resources and providers. And we do a cultural needs assessment. And that's what makes us different. That's what sets us apart and actually drives our results. We're finding is that no matter where you come from or what your needs are, we can find a provider that respects your background. And we are already seeing that builds a lot of trust with individuals, especially those who come from communities where there's a lot of mistrust with our providers.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that having a provider that simply understands your background or is from your background makes a
Right.
big difference.
Right.
But not only do we help the public find those providers, on the back end, we also train those providers.
Hmm.
So we work with local providers and businesses and organizations to train them on cultural understanding and
Okay.
diversity in the different cultures that they deal with in service.
I love
Um,
this.
so we're trying to tackle it from both ends, whether we're
Yeah.
educating the providers doing the service or we're empowering the individuals by making sure they're with the right provider.
Right. Okay. That's really good. Really good. Can people just walk in, Samantha, or do they have to have an appointment or what? How does it work?
Yeah, you can walk in. Absolutely. Every Wednesday I'm sitting there waiting for someone to come in. So no problem. Even if someone currently has an appointment, we actually have interns there that
Okay.
could walk you through the beginning steps until I'm available. So either way,
Hmm.
someone's there to help. Um, you are able to make an appointment online.
Okay.
If you don't want to, you don't have to. You can walk in, like I said. I like when people make appointments because then I can hold you accountable, right? To actually seeking the help I know you wanted in the first place. Because
Right.
people will reach out and they're like, I'm too busy. Oh, I can't. I don't want to
Yeah.
hear it. Personally, I don't want to hear
Yeah.
it. You
Yeah.
have to make the time. So let's make the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so that's why I like when people make appointments because I can follow up and try and encourage them to actually come in and take those
Yeah.
steps. Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking, um, what it really boils down to, Samantha, is
Mhm.
us making time for ourselves. This is a form of self-care. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Taking care of our mental health, just like we take care of physical, with eating and drinking and doing all of the other things that we do. When we are not mentally in tune the way that we need to, we need to stop walking around on half empty. We really do. Because life is life, and as they say, things are going to be happening, but we have got to get to the point where we put ourselves as more of a priority. Because if you're not good, you can't take care of anybody else if you're not good. And what I've found also, Samantha, is a lot of times we think we're hiding it. We think that people
We
don't know.
think. You got that
Yeah.
right. We think.
Yeah, but people that are around you consistently, if you have some mental health issues going on, we're going to know. We know, we see the signs, we can calculate it like clockwork, especially if it's a repeated cycle or pattern. And so when you try to go to someone that needs help and talk to them and they get upset, just know that when someone reaches out to you to try to offer you help or assistance to get mental health care, it's okay. It's okay. Just trying to help you get better, just trying to help you get better. How, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is, and I think it's important because I think a lot of us want to help.
Yeah.
But I feel like we'll do you okay? You sure? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
I get that. I get that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And as the individual being asked that question, I feel like we don't really want to lay our burden down. So we'll just let them run off with the it's okay, and we'll keep saying it. But I think if you genuinely give someone maybe 3, 4 more tries, are you sure? I'm here. You want to, if you really lay into them that you are available in that moment, then maybe you'll get something back. But I think it's both ways.
So one time is not enough. If you see someone that you love, that you care about, that is struggling, that is really going through, you can't just ask them if they're okay one time, because it's true. Their walls are not usually going to come down with one try. And Samantha, the suicide rates are crazy these days. Depression, and it's not just older people now, it's younger people, there's children. It's crazy. And I feel like mental health resources are more important now than ever before. I can remember a time this was something we didn't talk about. We just didn't talk about it. Uncle Johnny is not right, but
there you
just say he's not right. Okay. That's it. He's just not right. You just let him sit over there and do the crazy, weird stuff he does, and nobody tries to get him help. This is just the way it was. Yep. But in reality, it's like, you know what? If Uncle Johnny's not right and he's doing things that we're calling crazy and weird, why don't we get him some help? Why is nobody taking Uncle Johnny to get the help he needs? So many times we just pretend. We just think and I hate that about our culture, is that we just act like stuff didn't happen.
Yeah.
It just, it affected everybody in the whole house. It affected everybody in the family, in the bloodline, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because we don't have to address it if we pretend it didn't happen. And that is something we got to get better about.
Yes. And there's more and more studies that are showing that in our genetic trackers, we carry trauma throughout the generations. So you saying it didn't happen and acting like it didn't happen isn't doing anything.
No.
It's just making us feel a little more crazy because we're not understanding where these traumatic instances are coming from, because you're not talking about what actually happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say this. When I started on this healing journey that I started on, hello, Miss Candy Usher. She says we don't talk about it like we should. Definitely. And she says mental health is so taboo. Right. When I started on the healing journey that the Lord started for me to get to a better place mentally, because a lot of people in my family have mental health issues. Let me just tell you that, Samantha. A lot of people in my family have mental health issues. I made a very conscious decision as a young girl. I will not deal with this. I will not, go through the things that I see other people going through. I will not, and it's taken a lot of reprogramming, and what I mean by that is um, I have had to deprogram my brain from things that were taught to me, things that were told to me, things were explained to me that never made sense to me. I just respected my elders. But in my mind, I was like, no, that's not acceptable for me. I'm not going to be able to just do that. But we've got to get to the point that we have real conversations and we come out of these fairy tales, these little fairy lands, like we're our, that things are just perfect and there's nothing that we need to pray against, and there's nothing that we need to really just address. And what is that phrase, the elephant in the room? There's so many elephants, girl, they taking over. The elephants are taking over. The elephants are taking over, Samantha, and they need to be addressed. But yeah, I think this is such a relevant and good conversation. And let me ask you this, and this may be just on a personal note, but how early do you think we should start talking about mental health with children? Do you see children in your facility? Let me ask you that.
We have seen children, yes. I believe our youngest was around 5 or 6. Our youngest, okay. 15. Every parent is different.
Okay.
Say that first. My 8-year-old child goes to therapy. And she goes to therapy because at 8 years old, she's lost 3 family members.
And so, she doesn't understand that. Yeah.
She goes to therapy for grief. So we already are having this conversation, right? Yeah. I mean, whenever it comes to a child that's not experiencing any symptoms, that's not showing any symptoms at all, a child that's truly in that child mind and as blissful as can be, then I don't think we need to have that conversation at a very young age. I think once teenage years or preteens hit and those emotions and the chemical balance in their brain is changing is when we really need to start having those conversations. I know personally that I dealt with self-harm at the age of 12. So having conversations as a preteen is not a bad idea.
Yeah. That was around the age that I had ideas of that sort too. Middle school. I believe I was 12 as well. Just family life was so heavy with the mental health issues in the family and just so much going on. And in my family, there was also sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental, emotional, just on every level. And that was during a time, Samantha, I was literally going to bed at night praying for the Lord to take me in my sleep. And he kept letting me wake up. And so I thought in a moment that I would just handle it myself. I did. And did I want to do it? No, but I wanted relief, if that makes sense. I was already going to therapy. I was already talking to the pastor. I was already talking to all these people and nothing was happening. So I definitely know how that feels. You just get to a place of feeling like, why am I here? What is this about? I thank God that I was not successful in those attempts, that I can actually tell someone now that there is hope. There is, peace on the other side. Once you get to the point that you look at things differently, we change our mindsets and how we deal with things. And that's why your organization is so important. Social Works is so important because you have the opportunity every day, Samantha, to help people change their mindset and realize that there are resources and people that are available to help them. How do you maintain resilience and your mental well-being while managing all these roles and responsibilities with your organization? How does that work?
Well, I will say recently, actually just, what's today, Tuesday? So just 2 days
Yes.
ago,
Yeah.
I went into the woods, like in a cabin.
Okay.
So a little background, I'm not from Texas, so I've never actually been in the woods before.
Okay.
But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'm from Los Angeles, so all we have is like
yeah,
like light pollution.
yeah,
Sincerely, yeah.
yeah.
So, but the point is, I had been pushing through this past 2-3 weeks. I had been exhausted and pushing through to the point where my 8-year-old's like, you can take a break too. I'm like, all right, now that you're telling me this, I'm clearly showing you, right?
Yeah.
Like she's seeing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I booked it's just this little box of a cabin, no TV, no signal. I didn't bring my computer. I 100% unplugged.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked at the sky, in such a long time, and I didn't realize it until I looked at it that day. Like since I was a child, we're so busy
this.
going.
Yeah.
Just we always look what's in front of us. Like what's the day have for me? What's my week look like? What's this? And I think the most enlightening part was I sat there and I watched a tree do nothing for an hour.
Oh, I get it.
And I'm just like, you guys do this all the time, huh? Like just nothing. Isn't it beautiful?
Listen, were you in Oklahoma? Did you go to Oklahoma?
No, I was down the road in LaRue, so maybe 30, 40 minutes away.
Okay. Well, every year in November, I go to some cabins in Oklahoma. They're called Broken Bow, and then they're also Broken Bow and Beaver's Bend. I get a cabin in both of those areas. I've been doing this for the last 5 or 6 years, and this year, actually November of this year, I'm actually taking some women with me that we all wrote a book together. We're all in a project. We wrote a book together. Oh. So this year I got a bigger cabin, and it's going to be a lot funner because I have people going with me. But let me tell you something, Samantha. It is so relaxing. I literally sit there and I watch the trees. I watch the leaves. I can't even explain it to you. So I get what you're saying. I literally sit there and I'm just like, you have such clear thinking. Yes. I remember last year when I went, I had a book project and I kept telling myself, don't write. Well, listen, I finished writing a book while I was down there because I was able to think so clearly. I was like, I needed to go down here for about a week. I could really do some writing, but that it is so important that we get that time for ourselves to unplug and get ready. And those are a couple of ladies that are going on the trip with me, Tashonda Robinson, Candy Usher. They're some of the ladies that are going to be going on the trip. But when you are down there in Oklahoma with nothing but trees, and you look at the color of the leaves, and the cabins have like the back decks with the patio furniture, and you literally just sit there and just stare, and before you know it, it's been an hour, but you're not thinking about time. You're just in such a peaceful place. And I find myself doing that. At home, I don't even really like to go outside. Listen, I don't even like going outside. I don't like bugs. I don't want to sweat. I don't want none of it.
No, it's true.
But when I go to Oklahoma, I become another person. I literally just sit there and I just be outside and I just be, nothing bothers me. It's just so peaceful. So yes, we recommend you to go to the woods. When you go to the woods, no cell phone. So nobody can call you to ask you questions, none of it. Yeah, that is a very good thing. What else do you recommend? And what else would you tell a client? So if somebody was struggling with mental health and considering seeking some help, what are some things you would tell them to do to kind of help get them through a crisis?
I always like to, whenever I talk to any client, I always like to make them aware of the crisis line.
Okay.
It used to be a full number, a 1-800. Now it's a simple three-digit number, 988, just like 911, but
Oh,
988.
okay.
If you're
988.
going through a mental health crisis, if
Let me put that
you,
in the comments.
mhm,
988.
yes. So
988.
it's as simple as it's a crisis and suicide hotline. And
Okay.
so even you don't even have to call, you can text it. So whenever
Okay.
I have young individuals like teenagers, I always like to encourage them to text it, because this is a random, unbiased person who's just here to hear you out in this exact moment that you need it the most. They will hear
Right.
you out. They are trained to talk you down, to calm down the
Right.
situation, right? And even this line has specific prompts for veterans, for Spanish, and for LGBT. So it has
Oh,
specific,
wow.
again, like we
Mm-hmm.
talked, cultural need, right? So
Yeah.
they've
Wow.
recognized this, and they've broken down to where even the lines get you to people that will respect your background and whatever is going on with you at that time.
I'm going to tell you, I had one of the bad situations that we faced with a particular family member about 2 years ago. We had a particular family in our family that was suicidal and just on one of really in a bad place mentally, and
Yeah.
we called the crisis hotline, and this was to a local facility here in Tyler. I won't say the name, but we called the local facility here in Tyler and was telling them about what the person was going through and what was going on. And they said, do you think that they could possibly harm themselves? And I said, yes, I really, it's on another level right now. And I think they said, well, ask them what's the plan. And I said, what? They said, ask them what's the plan. And so I asked the person, what's your plan? And they didn't have a plan. So the person on the line, the hotline, you know what they told me, right? They told me, well, if they don't have a plan, they're not really serious.
Yeah.
I said, what? They said if they were really serious about committing suicide or hurting themselves, they would have a whole plan. And so they pretty much told me that somebody would reach out to me or we could just call back on Monday. I was so got off with.
Not on Monday.
I didn't understand that. I'm like, because they didn't tell me the plan, we don't take it seriously. Like we don't react. What would you say about that?
My concern is that the reason they were asking if they had a specific plan was because if they did, they would have law enforcement come to the area and put them on a hold. That's my concern, is that you're asking this very specific reason, being the second question you ask, right? Yeah. They do ask that at the crisis line. They will ask you that, but they won't say, you're not being serious. Get off my phone.
Yeah,
I think that's some crazy. I think that's pretty ridiculous to say to someone, especially someone in that moment trying to help a family member come down off of a crisis like that.
Yeah.
So I am very grateful for this hotline and for the immediate access with dumbing down that phone number. That's provided.
I'm happy to know that number exists. That's not the number that we called when we needed help. So I'm very happy to know that this 988 crisis and suicide hotline is available for people that need assistance, and that the people are actually trained on how to help assist. Let me ask you a question. When you think of the word healing, empowerment, and transformation, which one of those words stands out the most to you, and tell us why?
I think it would definitely, I believe, have to be the healing.
Really?
Probably because of, lately I've had a lot of time to reflect on when I was younger, because I've been speaking to seniors, and if you've never spoken to a high school student, give it a try. It's the worst. And so I've had time to. Sorry, I know. I've had time to truly reflect on, preteen years, teenage years, college years, even just newly adult years. I'm about to hit 30, so I have plenty of time still to come to reflect on. But even just kind of what you were saying about yourself briefly, because I had this thought the other day, which was I never thought I would see 28. I just turned 28 last month. Never. Yeah. The highest I thought, 23, maybe.
Wow.
Before my mind took me out. Like, I could not fathom the concept of being 28 years old.
Yeah.
And so.
But thank God you're here. You are here. Yes. You are here. And you're past it. You are past it. Samantha.
That's why the healing. Yeah. That's the full turnaround. It gets better, right?
Day by day.
This through is worth it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We don't have to figure it all out at one time. You can do it day by day.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And even when, at the time when I'm younger and I don't think I'll make it here, and then I get here, it's like, thank God I went through what I did, because now I help others. And that's really hard. When you're in it, you are not seeing the bigger picture. You are not seeing the outside. You're not seeing any of it.
Yeah.
But on that outside, that hindsight, is that what they say? Hindsight vision 2020?
The hindsight, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful. I'm very grateful.
Yeah. I went through a time where I was feeling very woe is me-ish, if there's a such word. And I remember being angry at God, Samantha, for all the things that I had went through, that I had seen my family go through, and just life in general. And I was just, why me? And I was having this temper tantrum, right? And the Lord told me it was never about you. It was about ministry. And that's just what you just said in a different way. But the Lord allows us to go through things because he needs people to be able to give a real account of something, and to be able to really tell what it looks like, really tell what it feels like to people that are struggling, so that they can get through it. And he trusted us enough, right? I've turned it around and taken the power back. And so the Lord trusted me enough. He knew that he could hold me up enough. I was built tough enough that he could let me go through those things and bring me out on the other side. So it's kind of still, you have to retrain your brain, right? But I had to retrain my brain. So I say to you, Samantha, the Lord thought you were tough enough, that you were built enough, that he let you go through the things that you went through, see the things that you saw, hear it, feel it, all those things, because he needed somebody to open up an organization called Social Work to change the lives of girls and boys and men and women in the big city of Tyler, Texas. And he knew that you were going to be the one. And so for that, we are so grateful that you got to the other side.
Absolutely.
So grateful, because think about it. So many people were tied to your destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we don't think about it like that.
No, not at all. Now when people ask why I moved out here, I'll have a reason. I'm like, oh, yeah, this clearly was the reason.
Yeah, yeah. In time, it revealed itself, right?
Absolutely. All in due time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it has been amazing talking to you tonight, Miss Samantha. I'm going to ask you to just stay there for just a few minutes. I want to talk to you off the camera to see how I can partner with you and see what I can do to help your organization. What closing thoughts do you have tonight, Miss Samantha, as we come to a close?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Utmost thank you. Yeah. And I hope whoever sees this and is watching this will get the help when they need it.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
the ultimate goal here. If you need
Yeah.
it, get the help. We can find someone. I can find someone to help you.
No. Tell us where they can find you. Are you on Facebook, Instagram? Where are you located?
So we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on LinkedIn. So we have the main three, and that is at swadvocacy.org. Our website is also swadvocacy.org. And we actually have a location. So if you're in Smith County, we do service the Smith County area. You can come to our location in Tyler off of Donnybrook, 2124 Donnybrook Avenue.
And you just recently got a new facility. Am I correct? I saw a ribbon cutting.
Yes, exactly. We had just
Yes.
opened our office space in order to see people in the office.
Very good. Very good. So hold tight there, Miss Sammantha. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show tonight with our guest, Sammantha. She is the Executive Director of Social Works. Make sure that you like, tag, and share this interview. Make sure that you also subscribe to my YouTube channel, the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. Make sure that you tune in on Thursday. We will have another episode with another amazing guest. Thank you, thank you, thank you for tuning in.
If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemseatontheauthor@gmail.com.